he accidentally, quote unquote.
There are definitely some holes.
I don't know if I necessarily believe that all the way. Maybe he was just frustrated.
I've never accidentally locked a deadbolt.
She called you Johnny, okay? Relax. She called me by another man's name. What? Even your guys are not buying your story. Like, get him off the show. I'm so tired of Jose. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Taste of Reality. My name is Queenie, for those who don't know me, and we're reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 10. Before I get into it, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. It was a good episode. I can't lie. It was a good episode for what Lifetime gives us. I have a lot of opinions, so let's get into it. We're going to start with Johnny and Bao because I have the least to say about them. Bao's a freak. Okay, Bao was a little freak. And I thought, if you would have asked me last week, I thought Johnny was the one who was always fiending for sex, but it seems like Bao was the one who wants more.
Was it pretty vanilla?
Yeah, so far, yeah.
But I feel like there's definitely room for us to have more variety.
Not only is she wanting more variety, she also wants more frequency of sex. So I found this interesting. It's clear that in their relationship, she is the more higher desire partner. And so she might have to pull the weight in the foreplay, in really initiating sex, or maybe creating an environment conducive for sexual activity. So at first, I thought the bed making thing that Johnny brought up was kind of petty. I'm like, okay, whatever, it's just the bed making. But if he's the type of person who, you know, just needs to see a little bit more out of bedroom effort for more bedroom rendezvous, I don't know, that's what Bao might need to do. So girl, help him make the bed so that y'all can ruin it. That's all I have for Johnny and Bao. There isn't really anything groundbreaking with these two. We did learn that Bao's dad was known as the local drunk, and that did affect her psyche growing up. And I think that's where her start began, or maybe that was like a pinnacle moment in her journey for like the shame that she feels a lot of the time. So the bullying that she experienced and the fact that she's carried it into her adulthood, I think it in part stems from the shame she felt with the reputation of her dad. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. It seems like she's growing out of it when it comes to her and Johnny specifically. So hopefully she can keep up the good momentum that they've had. Yeah, listen, Johnny's mama is gonna get those grandkids that she was asking for. Okay, if it's up to Bao, she gonna make them grandkids. Moving on to Brett and Ryan. They were visited by, well, everyone was visited by Dr. Viviana this week. And basically he confessed that he has hit a wall.
Butterflies? What is that feeling?
I want the butterflies. I want to be speechless. I want my breath taken away. And the butterflies is exactly what I've been waiting to feel.
Unfortunately for Brett, she says she's used to being in a dynamic where she's all in with people who do not reciprocate. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks, especially when you're somebody who seems to be very accommodating like Brett is, and you really want this to work and you're putting in your all. And really what it seems to boil down to for Ryan was that she's not his type and he couldn't work past that. And here's my thing about types. If she had every single thing internally that she already had, but the blonde hair and the blue eyes was there, that was what makes the difference. The blonde hair, the hair that can be dyed. Like, is it the red that he doesn't like? Because he was bringing it up a lot at the beginning of the season. Like, types, I get it. I have a type. We all have a preference. But to make that be the hindrance, especially when your partner looks like Brett, like, she's beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. Like, he can acknowledge that she is an attractive woman. He's just not attracted to her in that way as of yet. And that's got to be so frustrating to hear time and time again by other partners, and now the partner you're married to, like, oh, child. I do have to say though, it pains me. But I was proud of Ryan this week. Basically, he took his time to break away from the experience for a second, regroup at home, and come back in a better mindset. And he realized that it's greater than the things that he's been making a big deal for this process. And now he's willing to try. And not only that, he actually told Brett, God, their names confuse me. He actually told Brett, Brett, that when you see me shut down, call it out. Okay, Ryan, okay. They also did like tantric yoga, and it seemed to get them closer on a more physical level. They felt more comfortable, and I finally can say Ryan is not dead in the face, y'all. He is not dead in the face. Ryan has found life. Okay, he has found some life. But yeah, no, I'm happy for them. It's a weird one for me because I have complex feelings about Ryan, and I don't have to like them, but I can support their union together. Will it last? I don't know. I don't know. Because on the one hand, like, yes, he's made these strides, but it seems like until he feels like this is a whirlwind romance, he's still going to think it's not worth the work. Because another thing he did say earlier was, I'm waiting for the butterflies. I'm waiting for that kind of like fairy tale feeling. And the problem is that you've already shut it down based off of appearance. So now what is going to come? Like, what is going to come? You've already discounted her because she doesn't look the way that you wanted her to look. So therefore, you need to put in work, okay? Butterflies start off as caterpillars. Oh, that's a word. Okay, that's a word. Next, I think we could do Mirla and Gil. They had their session with Dr. Viviana, and basically, so he still hasn't had his kiss at this point, right? And Mirla, I see her trying. I do. I see her trying, and she wants that intimacy, but she does share a little bit as to why she's hesitant.
For me, a kiss is a very intimate thing. I've been in a previous relationship where I was cheated on, and I was truly miserable and unhappy. And so being able to trust is difficult for me.
I found it interesting how Dr. Viviana asked, so when she does shut you down when you ask for a peck or something, does she give an alternative? And the answer was no. And I was like, that's interesting. Especially if you're saying, okay, this is too much for me. Give me something that isn't too much, but can get us to the point where you feel more comfortable to move on to the next level, And this is something that I was saying at this point. Obviously, they've advanced past their kissing issue, right? But I just thought it was interesting. Like, if you're uncomfortable with something, like that might be pushing your boundary too much, give them something that's more in your comfort zone. And her issue was she would just shut down the intimacy altogether, and then the mood is killed, So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Later, they did the exercises where they share their intentions and feelings and all this stuff. The more affectionate exercises, she completely shut down because we know Mirla, okay? One thing Mirla is consistent, okay? So she was like, no. Not to any of that stuff, but the stuff where we're communicating and we're just maybe cuddling, getting closer to each other, we can do that. And it did lead to a breakthrough because Gil finally got his first and second kiss, okay? So the girl is trying. She did say also that, I don't like you saying we're going to get divorced. We're not getting divorced, And Gil did make a good point where just because you don't want to get divorced does not mean that I now must stay in this relationship. It has to be on both sides. So, and as much as she didn't want to go to that point with him on the intimacy, meet him halfway in some way, find a way to give something that maybe simulates intimacy, but doesn't cross your boundaries. Because he needs his needs met as well. A good thing about this couple, I really admired this about them in the session. Instead of talking like two people on a couch and then looking at your therapist and pretending like the other person isn't there, they unprovoked would turn to each other and address each other like, this moment is between you and I. And I really like that. And that's how I can tell they're trying, him more than her, only because he's more comfortable with it. But like, she looks into his eyes when they're talking, like she holds his hand, she rubs his lap, like she is trying. And it sucks that in the beginning she was giving the the edit that made it seem like she's so brash and and I feel like that is a part of her personality, but there is a sweeter side that we're starting to see, like the more that her walls break down. So it's looking hopeful for these two. I think if they continue on this trajectory, maybe she breaks down walls a little quicker, just a little faster. I could see them staying together. I really can. Our fourth couple is Zach and Michaela. So at the top of the episode, I was like, oh, wow, Zach is learning, okay? Because Zach was like, oh, I had to go home, get my Apple TV or whatever. I felt tired, decided to stay there, but I let Michaela know. I know she was upset about it, but at least I communicated that. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is awesome. But then I started to think, why is he so comfortable being away from her all the time? It obviously is not all the time. We see what they want us to see. But I'm like, he's so comfortable being like, I'm gonna just be over here. Let me just be over here. It's kind of weird. But anyways, we move on to their session with Dr. Viviana, and this is where Zach really started pissing me off. So Zach was annoyed with Michaela because she said she trusts him 50%. But then in his moment to talk, he says he does not trust her. How are you going to be mad at her for something when on your end it's worse? And what I'm learning about him is that he's allowed to be offended, but he'll be offended if you're offended by him. And that's offensive to me.
It's almost like he does an infraction and I can forgive and forget and try to move past it. But then if I do something for him, it's like he holds on to it.
He later even says, you can't be mad at me because that's how I feel. This is how I feel. You can't be mad at me. But then decides to be mad at Michaela for the way that she feels about stuff. He's emotionally manipulative, okay? I'm sorry. He is. And it sucks. Okay, walk with me, okay? It sucks, for lack of a better term, that he is so comfortable with showing his emotion, because when you see a man break down so easily, it's hard to be that person who brings tough realities, because he does break down, you know? And this isn't to heed guys away from not being emotional, not showing, that vulnerability, but it kind of makes it seem like, how do I say this without sounding bad? It's kind of like I had a friend, well, we had to work through this child. I had a friend who any sort of criticism, tears. So you as the person providing the criticism gets primed into not giving criticism because you don't want to deal with the breakdown. And I feel like that's what he does, whether it's intentional or unintentional, it's what he does. And even Dr. Viviana kind of hints to the fact that there is a part that you play in this, especially when you say the things that are happening in this relationship are not unique. It has happened in all your prior relationships before, or relationships, because he hasn't, really been in like a serious one, I don't think. But yeah, there's something about Zach that kind of makes him feel like as soon as you do me dirty though, that's it. And like, he hasn't given Michaela the chance to grow, to evolve, to learn. She can't even learn the man because he's like, we're fundamentally different. Fundamentally, we're different. We're just different. Yes. Does that mean you can't work though? Like, no, you're making it seem like these differences are a hard line and there's no coming back from it. Like, yeah, he really is 27, huh? Sheesh. Zach, this man is so double-minded, it's crazy. Zach is confused why Michaela says she's not sure if he likes her. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, of course I like you. I'm telling you right now that I like you, da-da-da, whatever, right? But then the question is asked, do you see a future with us? And he says, no. So if you don't see a future with me, do you like me? No, you must not. You don't like me long enough to even see a future. You can't even see potential. You don't like me. Don't lie, you don't like me. I think he's trying to hold on to the bliss that they had the first 2 days of their marriage and has seen a side that is not pretty. We acknowledge it's not pretty. Dr. Viviana acknowledged it's not pretty. Michaela acknowledged that it's not pretty. But he can't work past that because it's not that bliss that they had. If it's not that, it must be evil. And because of that, it can't work. Zach, I don't even think that they should be together. Don't get it twisted. I don't think that they should be together, but I think that there's things that they could have avoided. And mainly the reason why they are in a rut is because of Zach. It is. You can argue with your mama about that. Whew. Last but not least, Rachel and Jose. Y'all, what was this reaction about the sex? I mean, I get it. Sometimes sex is an awkward conversation to have, but this girl was hiding something.
I think the answer for her is the intercourse, yes?
Yes, it's great.
Now, again, it could just have been an awkward conversation, but I don't know. I've been seeing that these two like to pretend like they're perfect. And it's reminding me of Married at First Sight UK because there is a couple there who pretends like they're perfect. Maybe not pretend, but they present as if their relationship is perfect, which is great. But then there was another couple who was like, I'm not going to sit here and sing this person's praises as if there's nothing wrong with us, even when we're good. Even when you're good, there's also room for improvement. So the fact that Jose and Rachel have underlying issues that we find out later in the episode, but want to always present as perfection is a problem. I feel like there's a way to say we're in a good place. And even when we're in a good place, I can see there's here like things to work on. But, you know, like example, because I love examples. I live in this apartment. Is there work to be done? Absolutely. But I'm in a good place. I'm very happy with this place. You know, there's a way to acknowledge good and still see the work that needs to be done. So apparently, Rachel calls Jose another man's name. We later learned that it's Johnny. And the reaction that Jose gave was despicable. Now, is calling the other name, like, it sucks. Yeah, it's like, first of all, this is my name. Don't call me out my name. But the reaction was so irrational. This man, look back at the footage, y'all. He said, do you want me to take off this ring and throw it at you now? GTFO? I almost said it. What? And then to lock her out of. She did not disappear. You could have texted her. You could have asked. You could have waited. I mean, it was only like 1 o'clock. It's not like you were out here at 3 a.m. Homegirl wasn't around. She wasn't picking up her phone. And you were like, okay, you know what? Deadbolt the thing and I'll see you in the morning. Like, wow. So Rachel gets to a point where she wants to call off the relationship and Jose doesn't even care. Well, he acts like he doesn't care because you can tell his laugh was a frustrated laugh. It wasn't like a whatever. He was irritated. He was irritated. But before she actually calls it off for real, she decides to share that for 2 weeks. No, not even for 2 weeks. She wrote this message 2 weeks ago that she's been feeling like he's controlling. He's like doesn't move. He's rigid. The way that his life has been planned out for him is the way that it is going to go, regardless of who has been inputted in his life. And it doesn't allow for flexibility for Rachel. It doesn't allow for flexibility for the relationship because if it's not how you've planned it, it can't work. And we've seen that. We've seen it for a long time now. I don't want to say controlling because I feel like the word controlling holds more weight than when we actually use it. But he is rigid. I would say rigid, yeah. So she chose this time to share and he's frustrated because why didn't she share this earlier? And I'm with him only halfway. She could have shared this 2 weeks ago. It was in your phone, girl. It was sitting there for 2 weeks. And you want to be out here talking about, oh, we're perfect, we're great, whatever, when you know you have a whole note in your phone. That's a problem. But then also when your husband is Jose, how do you share that? You know? Yeah, I'm conflicted on the two. And like, even when the guys met up and he's relaying the story, he was completely downplaying the story. Like, yeah, she called me by another man's name and then she disappeared. And so I accidentally locked the... Sir, we're all going to watch the season back. What are you talking about? You might as well tell the truth now. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that their relationship has come to a head, because there was a lot of, not lies, but untruths. It was just a lot of untruth, and I'm glad that it's being exposed. Will they last? I hope not. Honestly, I hope not. I think there's some personal revelations that I have about Jose that I feel like he needs to come to terms with on his own. And then for Rachel, I think she does deserve to be in a place where she feels free and comfortable and able to be vulnerable. And this is not that. So until next week, we will be back here. I always ask you guys if I should do Married at First Sight UK, but I think at this point I'm just going to join in the next season, because we're already so far in on this one. But yeah, leave your comments as always on your thoughts on this episode. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.